Hey, Internet. This week, the Syrian refugee crisis made it to the front of everyone's news feed as the media circulated the images of a Syrian boy who had washed up on the shores of Turkey. The boy was in a smuggler's boat on his way to a small Turkish island off the coast of Greece when the boat capsized and killed 12 other people, including his brother and mother. In preparation for this video, I did a lot of reading about the Syrian refugee crisis, and basically the crisis itself and the war that is causing it is extremely complicated. Not just happening in a single country, but is happening globally, with an entire region affected by war and several external countries participating and interfering in the conflict. Because of this, there are over 7,600,000 people displaced internally and over 4 million Syrian refugees alone. People are fleeing, seeking safety across the Mediterranean and points further west. The war at the center of the crisis is the Syrian Civil War, or Syrian Revolution. It began in 2011 when the Free Syrian Army took up arms in response to the Assad government, which had been attacking its people. Basically, the government didn't like what a bunch of people were saying and began bombing towns and executing soldiers who refused to take up arms against their fellow Syrians. Things went from really awful to apocalyptic hellscape when the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, aka ISIL, aka ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, entered the fray. People were like, we need to get out of here because we cannot live our lives here. Our children are in danger. We must leave. Across the Mediterranean are countries like Hungary, Greece, and Turkey. And Hungary, Greece, and Turkey feel like they can't take in a whole bunch of refugees because of the financial strain, which makes a lot of sense because they shouldn't be the only people responsible for it. But then there's this thing where Germany is like, oh, we prepared ahead of time because in 2014 we predicted that it would go from bad to worse, and so we set up refugee sites to accommodate 800,000 refugees. In France and the UK and I think like Iceland is like, hey, we'll help you out. People are getting stuck in Hungary and Turkey, and that's why a lot of it came to the news this week. In addition to the image of the small boy who washed up on shore, there have also been people flooding into the train stations and trying to force their way into these other countries. And the reason why they're not being allowed into these other countries is because of things like they don't have paperwork. Like, they're on the border of Hungary and they're like, please, like, let us go past. We just want to go to Germany. And people are like, sorry, you can't go. You don't have paperwork. You're a migrant. You can't prove that you're from where you say you are. And they're like, sorry, I'm not a migrant. I'm a refugee. I fled in the dark of night with my children and my clothes on my back to avoid dying. And you were just let me. Part of it is the financial strain of places like Turkey and Hungary and Greece, like being able to afford to actually send people on the trains they need to get on to go to where they need to go. And this is the part where like we can help, because there are lots of systems set up where you can donate money to help with the financial strain of these countries providing for all of these refugees. But then after that, I literally don't know what to do. It's awful, and it could happen here. And I can't imagine living a perfectly ordinary life and then waking up one day and suddenly I have to leave my home and everything that I know behind, and then I try to get to where I need to go and people take advantage of my needs and they racketeer $2,000 out of me so they can smuggle me across the Mediterranean, and that smuggling fails and I die and my family dies. Basically, the Syrian refugee crisis, like summing it up into like a simple little package that makes you feel okay and like lead your life, is not something I've been able to do for myself, which means it's not something I think that you should do. I think that we should be trying to figure out ways to help other than just throwing money at the solution. Obviously, it's a big global problem, and